call the Community Life and Public Safety Committee to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Okay, if we can have the roll call, please. Present.
Ermeling is excused. Clark. Here. Swanka.
Here.
Yemke.
Here.
Lopez Serrero.
Here.
And Olson.
Here.
Members are present and or accounted for. I'll read the mission statement here of the Community Life and Public Safety Committee. We evaluate and make recommendations to the village board on matters related to safety, welfare, and livability within the village and their impact upon the Village of Weston residents. Before we get into public comment, if we can do introductions, we've got a couple of new members here, so welcome. Thank you for coming to help us out. Jamie, are you gonna do them or how do we do that?
Maybe we could just start and go around the table. Maybe we'd ask Valerie to start because then we'll do staff too.
Sure.
Perfect.
Okay. Valerie Parker, I'm the planning technician in the Planning and Development Department. And I also take the minutes for the Rules Committee and our Plan Commission.
I'm Jennifer Higgins. I'm the Planning and Development Director here.
And I'm Jamie Gabbard. I'm the administrator.
Kurt Tomke, I'm new to the boards. If you need a background.
If you wanted to share a couple quick.
I was general manager at the mall. I worked there for 20 years. Till they tore it down on me, so I lost my job. So. But my family was involved in Schofield politics all their life. Just about every one of them, so kind of got a good background in government, so.
John Schwanka, live over kind of by Cluck's Bar there in that area. For occupation program manager for the Equiflow lead replacement program in Wausau. Before that, I did 5 years of public works over Schofield. So.
Brett Olson, my background predominantly is in law enforcement, but I currently work in higher education leadership.
Katrina Clark, I am new to the committee. I am on Parks and Rec also. We have a little farm just down the road on the left-hand side as you're going north. And I'm also a registered nurse.
I'm Luis Lopes-Serrao. I'm originally from the great state of Minnesota, but I've been here calling this home for the last 20 years. I work as a lieutenant up with the Wausau Police Department.
Jim Pensonault. I'm trustee on the village board and then also chair this committee. And I fix cars at Patriot Auto the rest of the time that I'm not here.
Roman McGuire, head building inspector, Village of Weston resident.
Jeremy Hunt, Chief for Mountain Bay Metro Police Department, and I'm happy that there's another farmer on here, so feel good about that.
Josh Finke, Fire Chief for Safer.
Welcome, everyone. Now we all know each other, except for you three, but we're gonna get to know you here right now because now's your chance. Public comment. Is there any audience that wishes to make a public comment? No, not? Okay. How about online? So you got 3 people, but is that all us?
It is all us.
And no one on the telephone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll close the public comment here. Meetings from previous minutes from February 3rd, 2025.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented by Louise. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by John. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carried. Written communications.
None received.
Negative. Very well. Reports from departments. Code enforcement update.
There was information in the packet. Roman, do you want to talk a little bit through information and I can add in?
Yeah, absolutely. I did try and dig into our reports a little bit, kind of expand some of the data that was shared. So this is our total action count, which is detailed, and that's dates for 2/1 to 2/25, so month of February. So those are what staff was doing with the cases that we have. Just general information, but we've got, 16 follow-up inspections on stuff, on cases last week or last month, essentially, so. And then our initial contacts are on there. So this was kind of a new format, for the committee this month. Jennifer was on vacation, so I went all crazy with the data, so, just trying to, give a broader stroke picture of what, our department's doing with the code enforcement so far. And this is essentially from the last meeting.
Then we also had in the packet the update that was asked at the last meeting for the property on Leduc. I think that's why our audience members are here this evening also. But we did just have the follow-up that had occurred at Leduc along with the comments. And I've been in touch with the neighbors, and I believe Roman's been in touch with the property owner. So if there was follow-up comments from the report that was in the packet, we'd be happy to answer questions or explain anything further.
Yeah, additionally to that case specifically, I was in email communication with the property owner at the complaint address, and went back and forth on a couple emails last Wednesday. So it was actually right as in the middle of packet prep, I was drafting the email to her. So I didn't get a response back until Thursday. So, but she's more than happy to bring her property into compliance. Inspector Meverton and I did a curbside inspection on Monday of last week. There are some challenges with the property from a visual standpoint. There's a fence and some pretty substantial arborvitae there. So there's a good chunk of the property that we cannot see from the street. So, but that was, like I said, based on email communication with the property owner, she's more than happy to clean up. She was actually wanted a reference on how to get rid of the pool that's in her yard, which is not visible from the street. So, so that's kind of an update on that. I know Chief had officers out there pretty much immediately after our last meeting. And we do have notes in that case. Officers were there and issued citations. So there's a pending court case on that, I believe. So,
But all of the animals have been licensed and vaccinated, so all of the animals have been brought into compliance. There was still a citation issued, but the animals have been brought into compliance.
So there's a follow-up on April 10th to see if they become compliant on the other issues.
in the yard. Yep. And I had offered to the property owner that we could schedule a site visit this week and she could show us the property. She really just wanted to know what the issues were and what she needed to do to correct them.
Thank you for them and getting us up and moving forward. Does that sound like we're maybe moving in the right direction?
Yes.
Thank you.
Property owner, yes?
Yeah.
Yep. Did you want to add anything?
Just mostly kind of make sure that there was any steps that we had to take that we could be, and so that we'd have the information in real time. More than anything.
So Danielle shared the email
Yes.
communication.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So,
actually, there with her.
okay.
Any other comments on that one? Okay, what is the, what's the status on some of these other ones, like the roof that's fallen down since 2023? In 2 years, like, is that?
Let's-
Thing, is it take 2 years to get some kind of tear it down order or what?
Well, if they pull a permit to make the necessary repairs, then we've got to let that
So there is a active building permit on that?
What address are we referring to?
It was Business Highway 51 here.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, they had a roof collapse a few winters ago and that was, they had pulled a permit for the repairs and the year for that one, should be this spring. So it's one that we're tracking so that, it's gonna end up needing to get a raise order because they haven't progressed on it.
So it's 2 years on the building permit?
They pulled a demo, didn't they? That was a demo permit for that one.
Was it a demo permit for that?
Yeah, it's an old garage. And so,
12,
yeah.
5810.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the stuff that's.
Yeah, no, and we're trying to get caught up on
And
some of the that older stuff. There's Aaron had initially been handling that and Aaron's been gone now for 2 years, so it's kind of responsibility wise bounced around to a couple different people. So Travis is had been handling that with the homeowners, and then it's gonna go to me for a raise order. So
I know time goes fast. Aaron has been gone just a year, I think.
is it only a year?
He was,
Oh, yeah, it was
Yeah.
right before I left for Ireland.
yeah,
It's been not even a year.
I know, a blink of an eye.
Mhm.
if there's no other discussion on that, we would look for a motion to acknowledge the code enforcement update.
Move to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge the code enforcement update by Louise. Is there a second? Second, Brent. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried. Unfinished business, discussion and or action, further updates regarding future exploration of commercial building inspection.
No updates at this point in time, have not, there's been no status change.
Okay, very well. One, number 8, discussion and or action on proposed amendments to chapter 34, fire prevention and protection.
Would you like a motion on the floor first, or would you like to discuss?
No, I don't think we adopted that, did we? We can talk about it. We tried Robert's rules once and then no one wanted to play by those rules, so. We're the wild, wild Weston again.
So, updated draft is in the packet. We did change that tent piece that we talked about last time. We added in that temporary use permit because you would have a tent permit if you had a temporary use permit. And the piece about the exemption, if the tent is open on at least 3 sides and the expected crowd is less than 10,000, they wouldn't need the fire watchers. We made that piece about the Knox box a separate statement, and the fire department's recommendation, and the piece about the code. Then we had a lot of conversation last time about the stairways, doors and floors, and Chief might be wanting to expound on that a little bit more, but essentially what we did is really took a big section of that out of the code because the fire department would be working with those businesses that would have those items where they would have a lot of doors, floors, or stairwells that would need to be marked. The fire inspector would be working with them directly, so it would be taken down to just the sprinkler room, and where the fire department would connect and the building would stay as part of the code. I'd let you add anything you want out there, Chief.
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it pretty good unless anybody has questions.
Anyone?
I guess I have a question. Chief, under the access boxes section of this ordinance, are you happy with the change in the language, or would you prefer that it stays the way that it is in ordinance right now?
I liked it the way it was. I can understand the reasons for changing it. But I am extremely confident that we will get angry building owners calling us for broken doors and asking the fire department to pay for them. But I'll deal with that when it happens.
That's okay. So we would look for a motion to adopt this ordinance or.
I will make a motion to adopt the language presented.
Motion by John to adopt chapter 34, fire prevention and protection as presented in the packet. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Katrina. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both say no.
No.
One no. Louise. Motion carried. Number 9, discussion and or action on proposed amendments to chapter 38, health and sanitation.
This is also the second time seeing chapter 38. We did make the changes from rat to rodent at the last meeting, or we had discussed it. It was brought back for this meeting. Mostly because we wanted to add the section under number 5 in solid waste about using best management practices and making every effort possible to minimize any dust or debris or other materials from being carried by the wind. Again, this would only be if you would get a permit for the solid waste disposal. And this piece of the ordinance is mostly left over from when we had a landfill. We haven't issued a permit in a long time, but we want to keep it in there in case it would ever be necessary or someone would need it. So we would have what the process and the regulations would be. Otherwise, it's mostly the same as you saw last month.
We have failed pixels, or are we redacting part of this?
No, that's my computer. It told me to minimize today and it's said minimize and now it just needs it needs to be turned off and turned back on again.
That's okay. Yeah, is there a motion here on chapter 38?
I'll move to approve the ordinance as presented.
Okay. Motion by Louise to approve chapter 38 as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brent. Discussion on the motion. None. Very well. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both say no. Motion carried. Number 10, discussion and or action on proposed amendments to chapter 42 law enforcement.
So I don't have an update for this one. I just wanted to keep it on the agenda because this one is still in the process. I did send it to Attorney Edie. He did get back an email to me on Sunday just to say that maybe we want to do some addition to chapter 26, which is where now the joint municipal court resides. But I did some looking in Rothschild, Egger, Marathon City. None of them have an additional chapter about municipal court in their ordinances. So I just want to discuss that with him further. All they have is just the one that we had previously approved. So that one will be cycling back again next month, but I just wanted to give the committee an update that it's still on the docket.
I think that all went through Nick Flanagan, so.
The court one went through, and I apologize, she retired now. The court administrator, she had to
Oh,
approve.
Susan Burns?
Yeah, she had to approve that chapter of ordinance for everyone.
Okay.
Because we all had to, all of the municipalities are identical, which was a requirement for the municipal court.
Yeah. And Sandra took that position now, so. But
Maybe we should reach out to Sandra and see if she thinks that it's necessary. But
I would think if it aligned with the Rothschild one, it would be, I'll help look at it tomorrow.
yeah, it's identical. They're all the municipalities are identical and they don't have an additional municipal court chapter.
I'm gonna ask Jess for municipal court, see what she has to say.
Sure.
Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to defer action until?
A future meeting.
I would like to make that motion.
I move to defer.
Motion to defer action until a future meeting by Katrina. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by John. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both say no. Motion carried. New business, update on raise or repair order for Aspen Street Apartments located on 4911, 5003, 5007, 5011, 5013, and 5107 Aspen Street.
Yeah, I believe I included a bunch of documents with the agenda item. This is the Aspen Street apartment complex. These 6 buildings are under joint ownership or sole ownership, I should say, by NSAV, which is the company owned by now deceased Glenn Witter. So he died back in March of 24, and that case is still going through probate. So, but in that time, the maintenance has severely fallen off on the entire complex. It wasn't great to begin with, but it's gotten worse. So, just a little under 3 months ago, myself, Fire Marshal, and Electrical Inspector Tatro met the representative of Glenn's estate and the maintenance company on site there. And we did a walkthrough on all 3 buildings. And basically did inspections of all 6 of the buildings, I should say. And, you know, took down inspection notes and had them take down notes so that they could start working on the issues. We'll be back in there after I get back from vacation. So just after St. Patty's Day, we'll be back in there for follow-up inspections on their progress. Based on what we saw, the conditions are not warranted for it to be an actual raise order. It would be a repair order if they fail to repair the issues from our December inspection. So that's kind of that case in a nutshell. Did I get? I was working on that when I was responding to Danielle and her email. So we've got a non-working fire alarm that was cited by Fire Marshal Christensen multiple times on multiple inspections. What you're going to see is just general building conditions of the common areas. This is in the basement. There is a substantial amount of mold, drywall missing from ceilings in the basement. These are common areas in the basement for the laundry and mechanicals. So the apartment laundry machines are downstairs. And this is the one of the patios outside. Patio furniture has wheels. Water damage ceiling. You'll see over on the left-hand side, there's some discoloration on the bottom of the OSB. It's non-pressure treated OSB, and when it's in contact with concrete, it's absorbed a lot of moisture. That band is actually mold. It's not paint. So it was cold in there when we did the inspection. So the mold had actually died, but it was furry when Fire Marshal Christensen had taken his photos. Leaking water heaters in the basement, which are out in the common area. Mold on the floor.
Actually, that was
Is that fire?
that was fire.
That was fire.
Started a box on fire in the
Yeah.
basement.
So a lot of non-working lights downstairs as well. And unfortunately, a lot of times with owners of or maintenance people of rental properties, you get you know, oh, they always break the light bulbs when we install them down there. So this is one of the exterior doors. It's actually the threshold is falling out from underneath it. The mat is covering a soft spot in the subfloor because the door doesn't keep the rain out. So more water damage. We've got about 30 to 40 photos per building that are, it's just kind of repeat of that's the close-up of the mold. So it's just same issues over and over and over again in all 6 of the buildings. Furniture that's not rated for exterior. Just a general disregard for the conditions of the building. both internally and externally. We were also at that point in time dealing with a lot of stuff in the parking lot area, furniture behind the dumpsters, tires in the, just neglect. So routinely since I've been here, and I'm sure it was before that, automobiles are left abandoned in the parking lot, and PD's always great about, you know, having those, the ones that they can get into, you know, and find those, but so it's kind of the, part of the reason with the code amendments last month. So, the walkways are falling apart, and you need to provide, you know, path to the public way, and it needs to be in good condition. So it's just a complex that has been neglected for a long time. So, we'll know more, later in the month as to how their progress is going, and then from there, we have to, make the determination if we're gonna, deem the buildings unfit for human habitation and put the repair orders on them. See what their progress is. So. Any questions?
Yeah, so when was the razor repair order delivered to the building?
I gave them 90 days to make repairs,
Okay.
because if I issued
From which date?
from the December 17th. So that was, so so it should have been 3 months, 90 days-ish, right? So that's why we got the inspection scheduled for March 17th. So in order to make repairs, if we go with deeming it unfit for human habitation, everyone needs to vacate the building.
Immediately, so like on the 17th, if you show up
We'll have to.
and
we'll
it
have to-
doesn't look
If it's
like the Ritz
if
Carlton
repairs
inside.
aren't, well, we don't need to go to the Ritz, but it'd be nice if we didn't have holes in the ceiling. So at that point, if they haven't made repairs, then yes, we'll have to issue them as unfit for human habitation.
And so on the 17th, then all these people are unhoused?
That is technically how the code reads. So.
And is that our intent? Is that
I-
like, I feel like it's maybe a little bit, I get it, you're giving them 90 days, but gosh, wouldn't it be neat to knock on their door like now or a month ago and say, hey, where are we with this? Like, just so you know, like all your tenants are gonna be on the street on the 18th. Where are we?
There's an actual formal process that has to be gone through, so it won't be on the 18th. So after he comes back from the inspection, then we'll have to figure out which way. Because if the raise order would have went through, there's a formal process that goes through the court system that you have to go through. So we've never had the whole issuing a repair order, so we'll have to go through state statutes to make sure that all the appropriate documentation is there. So there'll be he'll have to do a formal inspection report that would go along with that.
If they're making progress though, when we
would be working with them. So that's why this stuff takes a long time. It can take a while just because if they're showing progress, we're not gonna throw a hammer down and throw people out of their houses. So as long as he continues to work with us, that's always been the way that the board has directed us to do. So that's what we'll continue to do.
I think that is what we should do. However, if I'm reading this right, on 10/21 of 24, there was a razor repair order requested by the Board of Trustees,
Well,
right?
you authorized us to begin the process. So
And so
that's
it took 2
all we
months for
did
that
was
to
start the
happen.
process. There's never been a formal. So it took us a good month to work through Attorney Edie to figure out who was responsible for the property, because we've been trying to contact Glenn Witter for the last, because he has other properties we've been trying to deal with. It just goes to his old Security Realty, and whoever he works with ignores it, comes back. So we had to go through to figure out who actually was the trustee. So we got that. That wasn't probably until November. It was right before
Yeah.
you had that. So
Attorney Edie was able to track down the trustee, Jim Speckard. And that did take a significant amount of time, because everything that we were coming up with on CCAP and everything was ending up with dead ends.
And we
So-
were working through Valerie with all the garbage stuff, because that was still prior to winter. She was working with Kelly, who has always been the property management. She went silent for a long time, because we were also working with the PD on the vehicles, because there's been vehicles left there. So there's a lot of moving parts going on at this property and a lot of people involved in it.
Kind of response did you get from the trustee and the management company? Because I guess I look at it from the perspective of why would they put money into this? Because clearly they're not
He wants
necessarily.
to sell it.
Yeah, they're not
Want to
really
be
getting
a
it
part of
back.
it anymore,
Yeah.
so.
So do you think
yeah.
they're actually gonna fix something here? I mean,
Based off of what
I think
he
so,
said.
yes. I mean, the management company was basically, they were gonna do as little as absolutely possible until somebody put pressure on them. So, that was why we had Jim and the management company there. So that's, it's tough to get, this sort of, I mean, it's a lot of square footage that's covered. And so, ultimately, yeah, we don't want to kick them out of their residences. And it doesn't move as fast as we'd like it to, but we are moving in the right direction.
Does the order apply to the entire property, or is it building by building? So if there's like the mold issue hasn't been corrected, but the issue over here is corrected, is it building by building?
It's building by building. I have to issue, each building has to be handled separately. So the whole complex is the exterior is a problem, but each building is subject to its own set of standards. So when it comes to the repair orders and deeming it non-fit.
the other two buildings owned by somebody else then?
Yeah. They've been owned separately for a long time. Each one has its own independent ownership.
You have made contact with all the owners for all six, and all six. By the next time we're sitting in this chair, all six will know where they are, that water heater's fixed or mold is still growing or something.
We'll know where we're at. So, again, when you have a management company doing stuff for a dead guy, they don't do anything. Like,
That's why I asked, like, what's their motivation?
You know,
They even getting
none.
paid still, like to.
Yeah, they're still
the property?
collecting checks, 'cause that's who takes all the money for rent. So they're collecting the checks and just. Jim he doesn't want the properties. He works at Aqua Finance and he's been great to work with once we were able to get in contact with him. But he's not a property owner. He's never has been as far as rental properties are concerned. So he doesn't want to hang on to these. So it's just in this void region of nobody's actual responsibility other than the people that are contracted to take care of it. And that's, so, like Jennifer said, we couldn't even get them to respond for Valerie's, request to pick up stuff next to the dumpster. So, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. Trailer and two guys. We've gotten that issue corrected, right? So
So the trash area is all cleaned up?
Unless somebody put something there
yeah,
recently.
I'm kind of peeking whenever I drive by.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that was left was they had to fix that thing. They had material on order for that.
Yeah.
Where are we at on the vehicles? Is there anything left out there?
I don't know.
I didn't get an
As of right
update
this
last week,
minute.
because right before I left for vacation is when that ordinance, I think the Thursday,
Mhm.
it went into effect. And so
I'll check
Jeff
with-
said he was gonna do something Friday. They were sending guys out there.
I'll check with them tomorrow.
Yeah, I just figured they knew I was on vacation, so they'd send me updates this week.
How about the other things? Can they get handled concurrently, like the, I don't know, scooter and couches and stuff on the deck and patio door falling off and all that jazz?
Yeah, so it comes, the patio door is gonna be the maintenance company, the stuff on the patios. Is gonna be up to the tenants to take care of, but it's, enforceable. We can inform them that they need to get that stuff taken care of, but ultimately it falls under the scope of responsibility for them and the property owners.
So are there open active cases of those on Evolve? Is that show on this code enforcement report?
It's all just underneath.
I
the
did,
same
I did
thing.
not
We didn't open a separate.
open one for each individual apartment that has stuff on the patio.
Okay,
So,
so how do we?
we directed the management company to get that stuff taken care of.
I think there's also the piece of us not knowing which one of those apartments are inhabited and not inhabited, like if that stuff is abandoned or if it's really purposeful to the owner that's there. So I think that's a conversation that the ownership has to have with each one of the tenants to say, if the apartment is rented, that their items need to be taken care of.
Even if it's not rented, it still doesn't meet the standard and specification of the village, right?
But if it's not rented, it's something that the management company could, then it's been abandoned, right? They could more instantaneously move that to its next purpose.
Okay, maybe I just need to wait 30 days and hope we'll get better stuff. Okay.
And I know the police departments had some contact with some of the residents there. If there were residents that needed assistance, either through the police department or human services, we would try to get them connected to other resources.
Has there been any residents that contacted like the health department or anything about issues in there? Like
There was-
black mold in
there
there?
was one.
Periodically, I've got an open case in there right now and every time I've tried to call the person, they answer and there's no two-way communication once they answer the phone. So, I've over the years, I've been in multiple apartments in there. You know, it is. When it comes to the mold stuff, Marathon County Health Department doesn't want to deal with it. And as far as it being toxic or not, they're the only entity in the area that can test it. But it's very rarely in our area do we actually get toxic mold. And everyone has a different level of sensitivity to mold spores. So it's, I've had a lot of reading and communication about mold. But in our, in the nuisance code, it's something that is unsanitary, so we can address it through the nuisance code. So.
Well, I have to disagree with you in regards to the mold being toxic or not toxic. Any amount of mold in a building, regardless of what kind of mold it is, can be toxic to people. And so I have to say that.
No, that's fine.
I am currently dealing with mold in my own house, which you can't even see. It's behind the drywall and it's making my family sick. So that is like beyond making those residents ill. Like, so mold is toxic. It doesn't belong inside a building. I think that's misinformation that I want to at least call out.
That's what's been communicated to me, so I appreciate your input on that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a delicate thing where you don't wanna enable people to live in bad conditions. But you also don't wanna kick out people in short notice who, when we have housing issues to begin with and stuff. So it's kind of that balance of like, let's make sure to get it better. But yeah, I mean, who knows if you pulled some of that drywall off the wall and stuff, what might be behind all of that, but.
Is it your belief that these buildings are largely occupied? I mean.
75 to 85%, yeah.
Any other questions or discussion on the Aspen Street apartments? Okay. So I'd look for a motion to acknowledge the report on, it's quite a lengthy report here.
A motion.
Motion by Brent to acknowledge the report as presented in the packet for Aspen Street Apartments. Is there a second? Second. By Louise. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both say no. Motion carried. Discussion and or action on proposed amendments to chapter 66 solid waste. Who put this one together, Valerie?
I think Valerie has helped with many revisions to it through the years, yes.
I didn't put it on the agenda though.
This is just the next one in our list.
Any discussion on this one here?
This one was last updated right before we did our last contract, I believe, for garbage 2014.
I think there's
There's a
thing in there that we amended.
There was something in August amended, but I don't think it was very much.
Well, I think you did a fine job, Valerie. Looks very good. I have no additions or corrections. And this is probably the first one I've ever seen like that, so. Carry on.
Yeah.
If I had a hat, I'd tip it to you, but.
We looked at it when we had to change to, from Everest Metro to Mountain Bay.
So if there are no additions, subtractions, corrections, modifications, we would look for a motion to, well, we wouldn't need any action, correct?
Yep, no action would be needed.
Anything else on chapter 66? Okay, good job, Valerie. Okay, announcements. I have none other than welcome to all of our new members here. Announcements, anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Remarks from committee members. Sure. No, not?
Just happy to be part of it and get more involved as we.
Good.
Just remember cookies next time.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, none, perfect. Anything additional for the next agenda? Chapter? We did
Yeah.
4 in one night, I mean.
That was the record. I will have to see what our next chapter is.
Very well, stay tuned for the next chapter, and then we'll see an update on Aspen Street, right?
Do we need an update about commercial building or should we just wait until we,
It depends on staffing levels. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's,
I'm just thinking we could,
I would love to have an update next month.
okay, then we'll leave it on. We can always skip it if we don't have one.
So our next regular meeting date will be Monday, April 7, 2025 at 5 p.m. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Katrina, second by Lee. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Will say no. Meeting is adjourned at 5:43 p.m. Thank you, everyone. So that's the time to beat.